All right, let's dive right into the incredible neuroscience behind what some are calling the psychedelic renaissance. We're going to look at what's really going on inside your brain during a psychedelic experience and why one specific network is right at the heart of it all. You know, to really get where we're going, it helps to see where the whole idea started. The word psychedelic actually comes from ancient Greek, and it means soul manifesting. It's this beautiful, poetic idea that honestly perfectly sets the stage for the modern scientific mystery we're about to unpack. How do these things actually manifest the mind? And that's a mystery that scientists are finally getting to explore again. I mean, for decades, this kind of research was pretty much off limits for all sorts of reasons. But now, we're seeing this huge wave of new scientific interest, and it's all driven by one huge question. What is actually happening in the brain that creates such profound, life-changing effects?
To answer that, we've got to meet the main character in our story, a crucial network in your brain that, you've probably never even heard of.
Say hello to the default mode network, or DMN for short. The easiest way to think about it is like your brain's background operating system. It's the network that fires up whenever you're not really focused on anything in the outside world, when your mind is just wandering. Some neuroscientists even call it the brain's CEO, or maybe a better one, the me network, because it is so fundamental to our sense of self. So what does a CEO do all day? Well, the DMN is basically your inner monologue. It's in charge of all those thoughts about yourself, worrying about something you said, or replaying an old memory. It's where you daydream, think about your past, and plan for your future. At the end of the day, this network is constantly telling the story of you, to you.
And here's where this me network actually lives. See, the DMN isn't just one spot. It's a whole team of interconnected brain regions. You've got key players like the medial prefrontal cortex, right up front, which handles self-reflection. And then you have the posterior medial cortex, toward the back, which is all about memory and our personal story. These hubs are chatting with each other constantly, and that's what maintains our stable, everyday sense of who we are.
Okay, so that's our baseline, a super organized, self-obsessed DMN running the show. But what happens when we introduce something like Psilocybin or LSD into that system? Well, the change is just dramatic. On a normal day, the DMN is talking mostly to itself, and the rest of the brain's communication is pretty orderly. But on psychedelics, that whole pattern gets flipped on its head. The DMN's internal chatter suddenly goes quiet, and at the same time, connections between totally different brain networks just explode. It is a complete and total reorganization of how the brain talks to itself.
Scientists have a great term for this: higher brain entropy. All it means is that the brain becomes less rigid, more flexible, and way less predictable. I love this analogy. Think of your brain as an orchestra. The DMN is normally the strict conductor, making sure everyone sticks to the sheet music. But under a psychedelic, it's like the conductor just walks off stage, and suddenly the violins start improvising with the drums, creating this incredible, novel music that's never been heard before.
And what's absolutely fascinating is that this isn't just a quirk of one specific drug. You're looking at the molecules for psilocybin, from magic mushrooms, and LSD. They're clearly different, chemically speaking, but their effect on the brain, it's remarkably, incredibly consistent. They both quiet down the DMN and ramp up that global cross-brain communication. So, okay, brain scans are cool and all, but what does this actually feel like? I mean, it's one thing to see these patterns on a screen, but how does this massive shift in brain activity translate into a real human experience? Let's just put the question out there directly. What happens to your sense of self when the very part of your brain that creates and maintains it suddenly powers down? The experience is often called ego dissolution, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a state where the usual rigid boundaries between you and the rest of the world just seem to melt away. People report this profound feeling of being connected to everything, to other people, to nature, to the entire universe. And for many, this is one of the most powerful and potentially transformative parts of the whole experience. And this isn't just people telling stories. We can now draw a direct line from the brain scans to these feelings. A 2019 study, for example, showed a super clear link. The more the DMN's internal chatter went down, the more intensely people reported feeling something called oceanic self-boundlessness, which is basically the scientific term for that awesome feeling of oneness and a dissolving ego. The brain activity literally predicts the experience. Now, this connection, this link between quieting the DMN and dissolving the ego, this is way more than just a cool scientific fact. It is at the absolute heart of why researchers are so excited about the therapeutic potential here. Just think about it for a second.
So many mental health conditions, like depression, anxiety, PTSD, addiction, you can almost think of them as the DMN being stuck in overdrive, caught in a rigid negative loop. The brain gets trapped in these endless cycles of self-criticism and worry. The me network can literally become a kind of prison.
So the big idea, the therapeutic hypothesis, is this. By temporarily shutting down those rigid patterns in the DMN, psychedelics could create this incredible window of opportunity. In this more flexible, high-entropy state, it might just be easier to break free from those destructive mental habits. It's a chance to forge new, healthier pathways in the brain, especially when it's paired with therapy. And we're already seeing really promising results for everything from depression to addiction.
And that brings us right to the edge of what we know. The evidence is overwhelming that the default mode network is a major player here. But the final question, the biggest mystery, still remains. Is quieting this network the cause of the healing, or is it just one part of a much bigger brain-wide reset? That's the mystery the scientists are racing to solve right now.